Hello, my name is Olivier. I am from the Association of the Friends of Mélanie Calvat, Les Amis de Mélanie Calvat in France. We are a French association. Please bear with me for my poor English, and bear with me also for everything I'm going to talk about. It's not a very easy subject. The apparition of Notre Dame, the Holy Virgin, in Our Lady in La Salette, a French place, on 19 September 1846. It's a very important apparition of Notre Dame, and it's not as well known as it should be. That's what we do believe, and that's why we started this association, which main aim is to try and establish the truth mainly about Mélanie Calvat, the shepherdess of La Salette, one of the two seers of the apparition, together with Maximin Giraud. You can see them on the picture here. This association was started about a year ago in early 2024, and we mainly republish or publish books about Mélanie Calvat's writing and some writing who were done about her. Together with this, we have a YouTube channel, we have a website, we try to do film documentaries, we give free conferences, and we are slowly developing our activity really around getting La Salette more known and its very important messages, especially for our time, spread. We decided today to do an English version of the talk we give, mainly because to the two children, to the two shepherds Notre Dame talked to in 1846, at the end of the apparition, she said to the two children, and she said it twice, "Well, my children, you will pass it on to all my people." So the aim of Notre Dame in 1846 was to give a message to be given to all her people. That means everyone in the world. And in France, this message, or I should say these messages, have not been really spread. They have been blocked, more or less, for the reason you're going to understand while I explain to you the life. Mainly, all this will be around the life of Mélanie Calvat. So, just in the beginning, briefly, I'm gonna just introduce myself for you to have a context. So actually, I speak a bit of English because I happen to live abroad, not in France, but abroad in the Himalayas for about 25 years, half of my life. And that's where I picked up my English. And actually, I was converted. I came back to France in 2015, but in 2017, as I was atheist, I was actually an anarchist. I used to call myself an anarcho-communist, anarchist and communist. And I was pretty much an activist. I was a musician, and I was living in the Himalayas. And when I came back to France, I had a sudden conversion to Catholicism on the mountain, on the hills of La Salette. Don't ask me why. I don't know why I went there, more or less. I just went to kind of feel a bit like I was feeling in the Himalayas, to go in the hills by myself in France in the winter. And I was taken by surprise by the grace of God. And in 10 minutes, while reading the book of the childhood of Mélanie Calvat, the shepherdess of La Salette, I suddenly had the faith in God, and by the grace of the Holy Virgin. So from that time, I very much focused my life on my spiritual life, and on trying to. I discovered right after my conversion that actually Melanie Calva, which is to me as an incredible life story, and as incredible messages that she has been always trying to bring to the world, messages she got from the Holy Virgin Mary. And I kind of happened to find myself in the Catholic Church noticing that very few people knew about her life, if not nobody, and the messages of La Salette were not known at all, where I really saw that, and I still really see that they are very actual for what's happening in the world today. And they are very important prophecies of Notre Dame that has been given to Melanie. And while noticing all that, I kind of felt that I had a kind of a duty, as Notre Dame got me the grace of conversion and of knowing about the truth, which is the Catholic faith. I kind of felt I had to give back something, and in a way felt the duty to spread the words of Notre Dame in La Salette. So this is just to give you a little introduction of why I am doing that and why we have now an association. To start with the apparition, I'm going to try not to be too long. The story of La Salette and the life of Melanie Calva is very rich, very deep, it can be long. I can talk about it for hours, but I'm going to try not to bother you too much and try to be as compact as possible. I just want to start by saying to you, first geographically, that this apparition, so on Saturday 19 September 1846 in the Dauphiné. So we are in France, in the southeast of France. I don't know if you can see the map in there. It's around here in France. It's not very far from the Italian border. And there it's hills going up to almost little more than 2,000 meters. So maybe 7,000 feet, something like that. And the apparition is quite particular that it happened at 1,800 meters, so it's more or less 5,500 feet height in the mountain. That's where Our Lady appeared to two little shepherds. So at that time, just to give you an historical context briefly, at that time, it was just the end. In 1789 was the French Revolution, the so-called Revolution. We understand quite well now that this was all fomented by Freemasonry in its aim of destroying the Catholic Church. Following the Revolution, the French Revolution, we had Napoleon, the First Empire, and then we had a kind of restoration of the monarchy in France in 1814, and after that there was a kind of another kind of milder revolution again in France in 1830. And there was established, we understand more or less once again that Freemasonry was at work. Because after the big revolution of 1789, there was kind of most of the people of the countryside actually wanted to keep monarchy. And but in the cities, in the big cities, Masonry was at work and was really trying to be against the monarchy, which was slowly being kind of re-established. So again, in 1830, a kind of revolution where there was a monarchy, but a constitutional monarchy, with a king, Louis Philippe, who was where behind we could see that the masonry was pulling the strings. When I say Freemasonry, you can also understand that it's actually the devil who is behind all this. You know, the real fight is spiritual and is between there. We're going to understand it's between the devil and the Virgin Mary. And in 1830 we have we have many apparitions in France. France has been particularly gifted by grace, by having a lot of apparition of Notre Dame. I will speak only about the one recognized by the Church. And in 1830, we have the apparition in Paris, in the Rue du Bac. This apparition that you probably know, where Notre Dame asked that be printed this miraculous medal, you know, that does a lot of miracle, and people who wear it have a lot of special graces given by Notre Dame. This is 1830. So we're going to start to see that the more the demon is moving forward and trying to destroy, especially in France, the Catholic Church, and in Europe, we're going to see it. The sky, I mean the heaven is replying through Notre Dame by coming and visiting us and giving us advice and means and ways to counter this attack from the evil. After this 1830 apparition, we have in 1846 this apparition of Notre Dame in La Salette. More or less, this is an image of the apparition of Notre Dame in La Salette, 19 September 1846. It's important to mention there that in 1842, so 4 years before this apparition, the writings of big saints that you might know, Saint Louis Grignon de Montfort, were discovered. They had been. It's a saint of about 150 to 200 years before the apparition, and his writings had been lost, and they were found back in 1842, 4 years before the apparition. I tell you this now because it's quite important after in the messages of Notre Dame. In France at that time, economical crisis, and by harvesting, the price of the wheat is going up. Lots of problem. Importing of Russian wheat, and commercial balance is negative, and so on. In 1848, another revolution that this time is spread to all Europe, where we can see there clearly that Freemasonry is attacking everywhere Christian monarchies and Christian monarchies. In 1848, we have Napoleon III, who come to power, and it's a time where we have the Third International Communist Congress in England. Karl Marx is really rising. We'll learn after that he was Rosicrucian. And in England we have the cholera. And in Italy, 1849, Mazzini, Garibaldi claimed the Republic in Rome. So they invaded the pontifical, actually the state of the church, and they claimed the Republic for Italy. Mazzini and Garibaldi being Carbonari, so being from a high Freemason rank. In 1870, there is a kind of a revolution. 1870-71, there is a revolution in Paris, which we call La Commune. It's a very communist one. And I forgot to mention that in 1858 there was the apparition of Lourdes, of Notre Dame, in all this chaos in Europe, where Catholic monarchy were really being swept out. In 1870, Napoleon III government failed, and at that time, 1871, another apparition of Notre Dame in Pontmain, Notre Dame de Pontmain. This is more in the between Normandy and Brittany kind of thing. It's more around here in France, more in the west parts of France. And there, Notre Dame is calling people to pray, village people. So in brief, I just wanted to tell you all that to show that there is, in my understanding, a kind of game. You know, we can see through all this more than a century, this kind of game between Protestant, Republicans, Communists, and all this is led by the Freemasonry, who is taking the political power in Europe. There are many, a great book, I can recommend to you this book, if you find it in English, by Bishop Henry de Lassus, about la conjuration anti-chrétienne, and about more or less a lot of things I talked to you about in this presentation is in this book. Now, coming to the apparition itself. So we are in 1846 in the countryside in France, in the hills of the Dauphiné, as we call this area of France, this hilly area. And so there we have two children, Mélanie and Maximin. They are living in a village called Corps, C-O-R-P-S, which means in French body. And in this village is at an altitude of around 1,000 meters, so about 3,000 feet. It's, you know, people live of harvesting and farming in the middle of the 19th century in France. And starting by Maximin. Maximin is from quite poor family. His father has his own job as repairing the carts and the wheel of the carts in the village. We know that he has one dog. He's often represented also with one sheep. And so we understand that at least he has a bit of something. But we know that both kids did not go to catechism and were not schooled. So it shows the social situation of both children, who was quite poor. Maximin's mother died when he was pretty young. And he had a stepmother who, from the writing and from what we know from Maximin, was pretty nice with him. He was not raised in a Catholic way, even though at that time in countryside in France, Catholicism was quite implanted, was quite strong, but not really in practice, as we're going to see later. But from Maximin's side, his father, as we understand later in the story, did not really have the faith. Mélanie Calvat was living also in Corps. She was even poorer than Maximin. She had a house. She was living in a house who did not belong to her parents. She was, I forgot to tell you that Maximin was born in 1835. So at the time of the apparition, he was 11 years old. Mélanie was born on 7 November 1831. So at the time of the apparition, she'd be 14, about to be 15 years old. So she lived in a house with her parents. It was a rented house. So they had really nothing. Mélanie was born in a family of 10 children. 2 died at a young age, so there were 8 children remaining. Melanie was the oldest daughter of the one who survived. And her father was a wood sawer. And but any job he will find in housemaking, he will take it. He will take the jobs he will get. So we know from the story, we know from this book, the childhood of Melanie Calva that she wrote. I will talk to you more later about this. All the information I give you of her childhood come from this book. The father of Melanie used to go quite far in the valley to try and find some work. He will come back at home only every week, every other week, or sometimes once in a month. He will come back for Saturdays, Sundays, and leave again. So it was mainly the mother of Melanie who will raise the children. Children will be more or less beggars, trying to get some food, to get some money from passers-by in order for the mother to be able to raise the family. It was a very difficult condition for the children and for Melanie. It says in some books that they were for sure the poorest family of the village and maybe of the valley. So this is just to introduce the two children at the time of the apparition. At the time of the apparition, just briefly, Melanie, who had a difficult childhood, I will come back to it later. Melanie, from the age of 6 years old, so 1837, she was placed in what we call house of other masters. So people who had a farm and who had land in the hills, they would need somebody to work for them, to look after the kids, or to take the cattle in the field or in the hills for grazing. And Melanie was employed for that. So it was a good way for her mother to try to get her off the house, one mouth less to feed, and also she will be paid a little amount for the family and the rest of the family to try and survive. So Melanie, actually, when she was from the time where she was 6 years old, she was sent to work in others' family. And she will not be sent just for 1-2 days or in the morning, come back in the evening. She will leave, she will go early spring, and she will come back late fall. So more or less every year from when she was 6 years old, from March till I would say end of October, beginning of November, she will be away from home. She will come back only for the winter. You have to know that in the winter in this hilly region of France, you have about this much of snow. You know, from 20 centimeter to 1 meter of snow in the winter in these areas. So Melanie was used to working far from home in other people's house, in farms and at master's house. For Maximin, he was also working at somebody else's house at the time of the apparition, but for him it was quite new. It was, if I recall, it was the first time that Maximin was working away from home in a house. So it was not too far from their village. Their village is in Cahors, just for you to picture the place. This is the village of 1,000 meters, 3,000 feet. And then there is a little village of Les Ablandins, where the two children were working for masters, about 1.5 to 2 hours walking distance from their village, from their native village, and about 3 hours walk up in the hills from the Les Ablandins took place the apparition of Notre Dame, high up on the hills, on the hills where they were taking every day the cows to graze, up in the hills. So for Maximin, it was quite new to work in somebody else's place. He was working in a house in a little village. Melanie was working in another house. They were both from Cahors, but they did not know each other. They had never talked to each other before. So what I'm gonna explain to you now is in another little booklet. This is the English version we have in black and white. This is the color version of it, which now I happen to have in Italian here. But this booklet is actually Melanie, who wrote in the middle of the 19th century, sorry. She wrote all the story of the apparition with the message of Notre Dame, and she explained from the day before the apparition, how they met, her and Maximin. And so she say all the story of the apparition, how Notre Dame looked like, and all the details of the apparition. I will go back to it in order for you to you can get this on our website for free. You can download it on PDF. The apparition of the Very Holy Virgin on the mountain of La Salette on the 19th of September 1846 by the shepherdess of La Salette, Melanie Calvat. So in this writing, Melanie explained that one day before the apparition they met with Maximin, and Melanie was very much she was used to working by herself from a very poor family. She never played with no one. She was always by herself. I will explain to you later, but when she was small, she was not well treated by her mother. So she was very introvert personality, and she will never go with other children, never play with other children, hardly speak with anyone. At home, she will not speak with anyone. I will go back to this later. Maximin, on the contrary, was very sociable, a very jumpy, very happy kid, always wanting to play, to go here and there, to talk with everyone. And he was called later the perpetual movement, never stopping. He was always moving around and always wanted to talk and play. So he will, on the day before the apparition, he goes to Melanie and he sees her with her cows, and he say, "Let me come with you. I want to come with you. My master told me that you know very well the job. I don't. Let me come with you. I am also from Corps, and so I won't be alone, and you will show me how to do the job." And Melanie was saying, "I don't want you anywhere near me. I want to be by myself. I want nobody. I don't want to play with you." She explained all that. And finally, she said, I took pity on him. And finally, she decided to take Maximin with her the previous day, so on the 18th of September, 1846. They went up the hills. They were together. There are different little happenings, which are pretty funny, the way Melanie narrate them. Anyway. And so the next day, on the Saturday, again, they have decided to go together. So they went together on the hill. And we understand that we probably leave very early in the morning. And then they take the cows. I think they had about 8 cows, 4 each. And they go by a little path all the way to this 5,500 feet little flat area on top of a hill. Little flat area where there was some grass, as we can find in this altitude. And they let the cow graze. And Maximin wanted to play a game. I don't know which game he wanted to play, but Melanie said I did not want to play his game. And so they decided to play the game of Melanie. And the game of Melanie was to build a little paradise. So to build this paradise, they take stone, and then they put flowers on it, and then they put 2 stones on the side, another big stone on top. And they do like these 2-3 floors with flowers everywhere and garlands of flowers around. And they say, this is the paradise. So Melanie say, on the ground floor, it was supposed to be our house. And then on top, it was supposed to be the paradise. So this was the game of Melanie that they played for a while. After, they had some little bread, I think, that Melanie took with her. They ate little bit. We guess that it was around 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock. And then they kind of fell asleep on the grass. And the cows were up there around grazing. And suddenly Melanie described that suddenly she kind of woke up and she's looking for the cows and she cannot see the cows. And she kind of freak out and she say, "Oh, where are the cows?" And then she wake up and they are in a kind of little valley like this with a little stream. And a stream that was flowing only at the melting of the snow season, not all through the year. And Melanie, she was there in the deep and down, and she cannot see the cows, so she climbed a little bit on the top of the hill, and there she can see the cows who are grazing, and she's like, "Oh, good, the cows are here." And Maximin kind of follow her. He never wanted to be by himself. He wants to be with this older, girl who knows the job and who is used to being by herself in the hills, contrarily to him. So he kind of followed her, and suddenly Melanie described, and while I was up, I was about to come down, and Maximin was about to reach me going up, and suddenly at the place on our paradise, I saw a big light. And inside this big light, there was an even brighter light inside it. And in this brighter inside light, there was a woman, and she was seated, and she had her elbow on her knees, on her legs, on her knees, and she had her head in her hand, in this position. So this is the position where the children saw the Holy Virgin Mary, la belle dame, the beautiful woman, they said. They say it from up, and they say her down. She's sitting on their paradise, and she's in this position. And they say, and so for Maximin has always little funny words. He's really a funny boy. To de-dramatize all that. So Melanie, she said when she saw this light, she lost her stick. They had shepherd's stick. She lost her stick. And Maximin, he had this stick, but he was younger, so he apparently gave his stick. He said to Melanie, take my stick. And if it's bad, if it's not nice, give him a good hit on the head. That's Maximin. So then the children are kind of scared of this big light and of this woman, and the woman kind of stand up and say to the children, "Come, my children, come, I'm gonna tell you a big story. Come forward, my children, don't be scared. I am here to announce a great news to you." So while Our Lady said that, she stood up, and Melanie described that she stood up and she crossed her arm, and she said to the children, "Don't be scared. Come forward. I'm going to announce you a great news." So the children stopped being scared and they approached, and they came very nearby. They described later. They said later that they were so close to the Holy Virgin Mary that nobody could pass in between them. And then they Melanie described, and then she started to talk to us. And as soon as she started to talk to us, she started to weep, and tears started to flow down her cheek up to the ground, and they will stop before the ground. She described all this after, but basically she started to cry. So one particularity of this apparition of La Salette is that Notre Dame seemed to be very sad, and during the whole apparition she's crying. So she will cry all the time while giving the messages to the children. So I'm going to, in this apparition of La Salette, you're going to see there is what we call the public message, which she's about to give now to the two children. So you understood that Notre Dame is standing, arm crossed, crying. Imagine your mother in front of you, arm crossed, looking at you, telling you something and crying. It's like there is something wrong. And so she would say to both the children what we call the public message. So it's message, I believe, to be for everyone, for you, for me, for everybody. And then on top of that, which is not very well known about La Salette, and which is what today I want to focus on with you, is after she's going to give what we call secrets, one to Mélanie, one to Maxima. But this will come later. And these are very important. And there is one very important message in this. So the public message that she gave to both children, and she said at the end, you will pass it on to all my people. You will spread it to all my people. Basically, more or less, this public message given by Our Lady in La Salette is mainly about the second and the third commandment, if you know them. So then giving to the children this public message, as we call it, Our Lady started saying, if my people do not want to submit themselves to God, I am forced to let go of the hand of my Son. It is so heavy and weighty that I cannot withhold it anymore. Then she goes on saying, I gave you 6 days to work. I kept the 7th for myself, and no one wishes to grant it to me. See, it sounds like she's really speaking the words of God, because she's mentioning the 7th day, it's the Sunday. And it's actually, she's really speaking for God, actually. This is what weighs down the arm of my Son so much. So this is really about sanctifying Sundays, going to church, not working on Sunday. Those who drive carts cannot speak without putting the name of my Son in the middle. So this is about blasphemy, about saying bad words, putting the name of God in between. These are the two things which weigh down the arm of my Son so much. And after she goes on saying, if the harvest gets spoiled, it's only because of you. So then after she goes on explaining that all the bad things that happen on earth are because of us, are because of our sins. It's not about chance, luck, or bad weather, or it's all directly linked to the sins we do or don't do. A great famine will come, etc., etc. I keep it short for you. The children were not speaking French, actually, at the time of the apparition. They were speaking a local language, a patois, from these hills. And so at that time, she goes on in French, and at one time she said, there is one word they have problem to understand, and she goes on after in patois. So in the local language, she keeps on after talking to the children. And the children, when they will after give the narrate everything that Our Lady said to them, they would say it in French. And as a sign that it was a divine apparition, after the apparition, both children could speak fluent French, which they could not speak at all before. After, still in the public message given to both the children, which after the apparition they will be separated, they will say exactly the same thing. If they become converted, talking about us, so it's Notre Dame speaking, if they become converted, stones and rocks will change into wheat, and potatoes will be fertilized by the ground. Because she was talking about great famine, great starving. And after she asked to the children, do you say your prayer well, my children? And they understand. Both we replied, oh no, madame, not a lot. Ah, my children, you have to do it in the evening and in the morning. When you cannot do better, say one Pater and one Ave Maria. But when you have time, you can do better, say more. Say some more. So you see, we have also Notre Dame, Our Lady, pushing us to say well the prayer of the morning, at least a short prayer in the morning and in the evening. Then she goes on saying, only few old women go to Mass. The others works on Sunday, the whole summer, and in the winter too, when they don't know what to do, they only go to Mass to mock religion. On the Lent period, they go to the butcher's shop like dogs. So you see again, Our Lady goes back to the Sunday, to mocking religion, which is kind of close to the blasphemy, and about not respecting what the Church teaches us. Like on Lent, we should be at least on Friday. We should not eat meat. We should fast during Lent, and don't eat meat, stuff like that. So Notre Dame has come really to say to each of us to insist on this thing. And she ends after saying, well, my children, you will pass it on to all my people. This is what we call the very important public message given to everyone. But on top of that, which is not very well known of this La Salette apparition, is that to both the children, she will give as well what we call a secret, like Sister Lucy in Fatima. She had a secret, we always talk about the third secret. There were 3 secrets. The third one, we still don't know it. And the 2 first, they were given by Lucy, thing like this. So it's not the first time that, not the last, that Notre Dame give a secret to children. In Lourdes also, we know that the shepherdess had also some things that was told to her by Our Lady to say to the whole world, and some stuff that she always wanted to keep to herself. The little Bernadette. So here as well, Melanie described that actually there was a secret that was given, one to Maxima and one to Melanie. Both children will say after, Maxima will say, when she was giving her secret to Melanie, I could see her lips move, but I could not hear anything. And Melanie will say the same about Maxima. Important to say there before I forget that Maxima gave a very nice word describing when Notre Dame in the beginning is crying. Afterwards, Maxima afterwards he will say that this lady who was crying, she looked like a mother who was coming from down the valley, who had been beaten up by her kids, and who had come up to hide in the hills and to cry. This is what Maxima was saying after the apparition. I think he tells a lot on maybe what heaven wanted to tell us. So about the secrets, the secret given to Maxima by Our Lady, she said to Maxima, I give you a secret and you will never say it to no one, to nobody. You keep it for you. So Maxima, it was kind of a challenge for him to try and keep this secret for him to himself, because he was very much outspoken, very sociable, very extrovert, very outspoken. So during all his life, to keep it for him would be really a challenge. And during all his life, a lot of people will try and trick him or try to know his secret, but he will never say it. He never published it, and we don't know it. Some people say, I know it and this and that, but I think it's out of curiosity, but he never published it during his life. Melanie got also a secret, but this secret Our Lady told her in the beginning of the secret that was given to Melanie, Melanie, what I am going to tell you now will not always be secret. You can publish it in 1858. So actually 1846 apparition, at the time when Notre Dame gave the secret to Melanie, she said to her, in 12 years from now, publish it. It's a kind of duty, heavy duty that is given to Melanie. Melanie, as I told you, opposite from Maxima, very introvert, very reserved, very inside, very shy, and for her to be a messenger from Notre Dame to spread to everyone a long secret, a long message given by the Holy Virgin to her was really a very difficult task and was really a big challenge for her, opposite to her personality. So you see, both children have big challenges opposite to their personalities. This message, this secret message given to Melanie is, I think, really the heart of the apparition of Notre Dame in La Salette, and is what is not well known. You're gonna understand from what I explain you from now on that is very much the demon, is very much the Freemasonry who have been trying to have this secret put down the carpet. They don't want to hear about it. It's a big prophecy. We call it the Apocalypse of the Virgin Mary. And it's a big prophecy that goes from 1846 until the end of time, until the death of the Antichrist. And there are many events that are given by Notre Dame to tell us to be prepared of what's going to happen. And it's revealing a lot of plans of the demon in the future, and still running up to the time we live on now in 2025, you know. And the Antichrist is going to come, and there are a lot of things that are revealed in this text. And in order to not have this text published and to fight it, the demon, through Masonry, have been trying since 1846 to actually present Melanie Calva, the shepherdess, as a crazy woman who is full of pride, who has been manipulated by crazy people, by priests who wanted to be sensational, that she's saying a lot of fake things, she's trying to have people talk about herself, and all this kind of thing. So, in order to attack what heaven wants to tell us, what God wants to tell us through the Virgin Mary, the demon cannot attack that, so he has decided to attack the messenger itself. And it has been working pretty well. Since most people don't know about this incredible message of La Salette, and there is more to be said, you're gonna understand later on what I explain to you. First, you're gonna understand from this secret that Notre Dame gave. You see, it's about 4 big pages of A4. It's very consistent. It's very long message that is given, as I told you, from 1846 until after the death of the Antichrist. I'm not going to read it to you. You can get it from our website in English, free download. You will see at the end of this little video the link to go on our site, melaniedelasalette.fr. The beginning of the secret given to Melanie. You're going to see we are not used to having Notre Dame speaking like that. And Notre Dame is really talking harsh. Priests, my son's minister, priests, by their bad life, by their irreverence and their impiety in celebrating the holy mysteries, by the love of money, love of honor and pleasures, priests have become sewers of impurity. Yes, priests call for vengeance, and vengeance is suspended over their heads. Woe to the priests and to persons consecrated to God, who by their infidelities and their bad life are crucifying my son anew. The sins of persons consecrated to God scream toward heaven and call for vengeance. And here is vengeance at their very doors, because there is nobody left to implore mercy and forgiveness for the people. There are no generous souls anymore. There is no one left dignified to offer the spotless victim to the eternal in favor of the world. God is going to strike in an unprecedented way. So this is the beginning. Right from this, you are going to understand that after the apparition, there was an investigation in order to see if this apparition was truth, was divine or not. All this was led by the bishop of the area of Grenoble. After 5 years of investigation, they decided that it has to be believed by everyone that actually it was the Holy Virgin, and all this apparition was divine and was real, was to be believed by Catholic faithful. And after that, when Melanie started to publish her secret, she was attacked, and mainly attacked by the French clergy, by French influential people in the church, French clergymen, influential one, where we really started to attack Melanie and say, how is this possible? The Holy Virgin cannot talk about us like this. This is not possible. She is inventing all this. She is a little crazy girl. How dare she talk about us like this? No way the Virgin Mary can talk like this about the priests. It's a scandal. All this kind of thing. And Melanie will say later, is the one who feel some priests who live with honor and all this kind of thing and money, and they feel attacked by this and they don't want to change their life. That's why they attack. But the secret. But Our Lady doesn't want to condemn people. She's coming as a loving mother who just wants the clergy to change and to do better. It's a kind of, she come to remind us to do better and for us to change, not to condemn us. And Melanie was saying, but I found very true, that a saint hearing that, a saint priest would say, oh yeah, it's true, we don't do well, we should do better. We are not up to the responsibility that gave us the God as a priest. We have to do better. I'm not doing that good. How can I do better? So you can see the difference between both. And unfortunately, in France, the powerful people in the church were very much against Melanie and against this secret. And that's why, until now, it's not been spread as much as it should have been. I go on with few extracts from this secret, so that at least you get an idea of what God has been trying to tell us, and how Notre Dame has been trying to come and tell us to beware of. The heads, the leaders of the people of God have neglected prayer and penance, and the devil has obscured their intelligence. They have become those wandering stars that the old devil will drag with his tail to make them perish, etc., etc. Bad books will abound on earth, and everywhere the spirits of darkness will spread universal loosening in everything regarding the service of God, etc., etc. I make it short. There will be extraordinary prodigies because true faith has fainted and fake light illuminates the world. Extraordinary prodigies meaning coming from demons. We're gonna fake to be faking it to be coming from the real God. Like, you know, we have so many fake private apparitions. Everybody's like, oh, it's the Virgin Mary, it's Jesus who appear here and there, and actually it's all fake. Melanie will say it later in her life. She would say France has turned its back to La Salette, and France will be punished by fake apparition because they did not want to believe the true one. This is really to meditate. After it goes on, France, Italy, Spain, and England will be at war. Blood will flow in the streets, etc., etc. This is reference. There are reference to First and Second World War. And I think we have to be very cautious with this kind of prophecies. Prophecies, it's like the apocalypse. Everyone cannot just interpret them like this. I think we have to be cautious. I'm pretty sure that actually this kind of message, the secret of La Salette, is more for the clergy. You know, it's more aim at the clergy to discern it. You know, to try and understand and try to read it, and to be able to understand properly prophecies like this. You need special grace, you know, from God. It's not me. I cannot just interpret things. There are so many things in these long prophecies spread on 200-300 years, and you know, it's very difficult to say. Some people try to, and I think it's a mistake. Some laymen, you know, like me, some faithful, like, oh, this is happening now. This has happened at that time, exactly at this time. But I think we need special graces for that, and I think it's more for bishop or priests to have special grace to interpret and to say when, what is happening and how, you know. Nevertheless, there are some main lines, some main happening that at least we know will happen, and I think in some ways it can reassure us that the good will triumph. The good will win, and Notre Dame will win, as we know, and we are on the good side. But at time like now, where we see that evil is winning everywhere, Freemasonry is all around the place. Demons are completely winning. It seems like there are some news there for us to rejoice and to see that. In the end, we know that Our Lady will win, will triumph. Another part, the earth will be struck by all kinds of calamities. There will be wars until the last war, which will then be waged by the 10 kings of the Antichrist. Kings who will have the same design and will be the only one governing the world. Before this happens, there will be a kind of false peace in the world. One will only think about having fun. The wicked will indulge in all kinds of sins, but the children of the Holy Church, children of the faith, my true imitators, will grow in the love of God and in the virtues dearest to me. Nature asks vengeance for men, and it trembles with fright in the waiting of what must happen to the earth stained with crimes. Tremble, earth, and you who make the vow to serve Jesus Christ, and who in your heart adore yourselves. Blah, 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 blah. It will be during this time that the Antichrist will be born from a Hebrew nun, a false virgin, who will have communication with the old snake. The old snake, we say it in France, is the devil, is Lucifer, the god of Freemasons. The master of impurity. His father will be a bishop. So you see, there we have information We have informations that the Lucifer hates us to have. You know, it's like the mother of the Antichrist will be a Hebrew false fake virgin who will have communication with him, and the father of the Antichrist will be a bishop. At his birth, he will vomit blasphemies, he will have teeth. In one word, he will be the devil incarnate, etc., etc. The seasons will be changed, the earth will only produce bad fruits, blah, blah, blah. Rome, the head of the church in Italy, Rome will lose faith and become the seat of the Antichrist. So the Antichrist will be in Rome. Rome is going to lose faith and disappear. And Paris will be burned. The church will be eclipsed. The world will be in consternation, etc., etc. See, a lot of very interesting things to know for people who can read through that. Good news at the end. Here is the beast with his subject pretending to be the savior of the world. That's the Antichrist. He will rise in the air with pride. In order to reach the sky, he will be stifled by the breath of Saint Michael of the Archangel. He will fall, and the earth, which will be in continual evolution for 3 days, will open its fiery bosom. He will be plunged forever with all its followers in the eternal abysses of hell. See, this is good news. I want to read you one part that is toward the end of this secret. And I think this is a part that really, where really the Holy Virgin Mary in La Salette is addressing us. And if you are watching this video, I'm pretty sure that she's addressing you. And you have to understand, I'm going to read this little paragraph. It's about 10 lines, it's a bit long, but I want you to hear it because Our Lady is talking to you in La Salette. And she's talking about times where really the demons will be holding powers on earth, and I think we are in this time. And the Virgin Mary is calling us, and I think this is one of we are at the heart of the specifics of this apparition of La Salette, which we are trying to spread the message of. I'm quoting Notre Dame. I address a pressing appeal to the earth. I call upon the true disciples of the God living and reigning in the heavens. I call upon the true imitators of Christ made man, the only true Savior of men. I call upon my children, my true devotees, those who have given themselves to me, so that I may lead them to my divine Son. Those I hold, so to say, in my arms. Those who have lived from my spirit. Finally, I called upon the apostles of the latter times, the faithful disciples of Jesus Christ, who have lived in contempt of the world and of themselves, in poverty and humility, in contempt and silence, in oration, in prayer and mortification, in chastity and in union with God, in suffering and unknown to the world. It is time they went out and enlightened the earth. Go and show yourselves as my dearest children. I am with you and in you, provided your faith is the light that enlightens you in these evil days. May your zeal make you starve for the glory and honor of Jesus Christ. Do fight, children of light, you, the few who see thereby. For here comes the times of times, the end of ends. See, this is what we call the appeal of Our Lady of La Salette. She's calling on us to come out. Link to this right after the end of the secret. Very important part of La Salette. Again, nobody talks about. Melanie writes, so after the secret, then the Holy Virgin gave me also in French the rule of a new religious order. After having given me the rule of this new religious order, the Holy Virgin resumed the rest of the speech as follows. And then we go back to the end of the public speech, public message. So there, what do we learn there? We learn that on top of these incredible prophecies that call us to stand up and fight for the Holy Virgin, the Holy Virgin gave to Melanie, so actually we can say that she printed in her soul, the rule of a new religious order. And as Notre Dame mentioned before in The Secret, I call upon the apostles of the latter times. These apostles of the latter times, Saint Louis Grignon de Montfort, these great Marian saints of the early 18th century, end of the 17th century, who was French, living in France, who did a lot of work in the countryside on the east of France, going from village to villages, teaching people to say the rosary, and really one of the very important saints teaching the devotion to Mary, to the Holy Virgin Mary. And he had foreseen, by the grace of God, he had foreseen, and in his writings, he talks about the apostles of the latter time that will come at a time when the evil will rule the world, and they will come and they will spread again Catholicism all over the world. There will be a new religious order made of missionaries, priests and nuns, and also laymen, as like a Dominican order, like the Franciscan orders, like the Benedictine order. It will be a new religious order. And actually, in La Salette, incredible thing happened is that Notre Dame comes to give to Melanie Calva and to print, to imprint in her soul 33 articles, which we have, 33 articles giving the rule of a new religious order for a missionary order. And these missionaries are going to go all over the world to reteach Catholic basics and spread the gospel everywhere in the world. And actually, it's in 1846, following the visions of Saint Louis-Marie Grignon de Montfort, who talk about a particular way to give ourselves and to be ourselves, how he calls it, slaves of love of Mary, of the Virgin Mary. That is a very particular type of consecration we are supposed to do to the Virgin Mary. And in the same spirit, so to say, would be the apostles of the latter time. And in 1846, Notre Dame come to give to Melanie this new rule for this order to be started and to be created. So when he says that, most people say, this guy is freaking out. What is he talking about? I don't know about that. Nobody knows about that. What is the story of this new religious order in La Salette? This is freak. This is nonsense. We don't know about that. We heard about La Salette like Lourdes and like Pontmain, like the other apparition, and we know the common message, the public message, but this is like, what is this guy talking about? So I'm going to explain you. I'm going to try to be as brief as as short as possible. But actually, it's incredible, that we don't know about that. Because after the apparition, so I told you it was recognized that it was an apparition of divine apparition from the Holy Virgin. And after, Melanie will call it the part of the clergy who is attached to Freemasonry, who is part of the Masonry or accepting the orders and working more or less for the Masonry. This part of the clergy started to fight against Melanie because they already knew that the two children had the secrets and they were the political power in place, and probably the demons behind were kind of freaking out. They were scared of these secrets. What are these secrets? What are these things? What is going to be revealed about us? People who do bad, they are always afraid that they don't know everything. And when something is to be revealed, they're always freaking out. They're always scared. So people were scared of Melanie. After the apparition, 5-6 years after, a new bishop was put into place in Grenoble, because at the time of apparition it was a very nice, a very saint bishop, so to say. And when it changed, they started to want to get rid of this shepherdess who seems to know too much. And at the time, after the apparition, when they started to want to put some priest on top at the place of the apparition to build a church and to have missionaries or whatever, she started to say, but the Virgin Mary gave me a new order that should be started up there on the mountain. She wants something specific. And they would say, what? She's so proud. Who she thinks she is? This little girl is going to teach us what kind of order we're going to start on the mountain. We decide. We are from the clergy. Who is she? She's crazy. She's so proud. And they started to insult her and so on and so on. She was sent to England. They tried to get rid of her. She was sent in a convent in England. After she managed to more or less escape, or at least to get the Pope, at the time was Pius the Ninth. Pius the Ninth actually favored Melanie and say that, yeah, she had to go out of the convent in England because she's a messenger for the Holy Virgin, and she has to spread a message that was given to her. So him, who had already had a version of the secrets before in 1851, actually, so the Bishop of the Apparition had the children to write confidentially their secret to be given only to the Pope, who read them and who saw that it was coming from God by the wording of the messages, and he always the popes always supported the shepherd and the shepherdess. So Melanie, she was fought from 1851-60 onward, always fought by the powerful part of the French clergy, but she was always backed up by the Italian clergy. So what happened is, after she was so much attacked in France, after this England trip, and she started to want to spread this secret, and she was fought in France, and she always bad things said about her. She's crazy. She's so proud. She was excommunicated, so she could not go to church. She could not, by some bishops, by some cardinals, by some priests. There was a kind of more and more getting against her. But she was supported by Pius IX, after Leo XIII, and after Saint Pius X said about her, she's a saint. Now I'm going to talk to you, because we were talking about the order, the apostles of the latter times. So actually in 1878, Melanie was in Italy, so she had to take refuge in Italy. And Pius VIII gave to Melanie a spiritual director, a confessor, in Italy. It was Bishop Petania in Italia. So she was there in Italy. She was under a bishop given by the Pope. You know, that's not nothing, you know. And to this bishop, slowly, you know, she let him know about the secret and about the 33 article of the new religious order she was given by Notre Dame. She started to write down all this. And this bishop, he was so impressed, and he could see. We have some letters where they describe that the daily life of Melanie, she was like a saint, you know, the way she was living. They could all see that she was not proud. She was not, she was not crazy. She was not making up things. She was very much. They were all so impressed. All the people who lived with her in Italy. She lived for 20, 30 years in Italy in her life, because she was so much thought of in France. They always say such high thing about her, you know. It's only the people who don't know her who attack her, and they know or they don't know that they are actually working for the demons, you know, for Lucifer. She got Masonry. We understand through her letters. We have a lot of letters from Melanie during her life. She was writing letters to priests and stuff, and by the grace of God, we have lots of them, a lot of writings from Melanie, which with this association we try to republish. We know about her inside life, you know, and we know what she went through. And so I come to my point. In 1878, Pius IX died. 1878, Leo XIII. So in Rome, they heard about the story of the shepherdess, the rule of the Apostle of the Latter Times, and the secret of La Salette. And he calls on Melanie, and he have her in Rome. And he has a private meeting with Melanie. She describes it in some letters. I will talk to you later about our publications. And so actually, you have a Pope, Leo XIII, who received Melanie in Rome, who talked to her, and he decided to keep her in Rome, in a convent, with some with some nuns. She stayed there for 6 months, from early December 78 till early May 1879, and there she wrote the articles of the new religious order given by Notre Dame. So it was printed in her soul. She could not remember it just like that. And she wrote The Secret, which we had already. She rewrote The Secret. She wrote all these little booklets where she narrate all the apparition, including The Secret and the public message. And also, as you might know, in order to establish religious order, you need the rule for the general rules, and you need the constitutions for the daily life, more precise. And Leo XIII kept her in Rome, and he said, you're going to write the constitutions. So she wrote all that. All that, they did a little congress in Rome. They took all these documents, they check all that, and they say, for us, this come from heaven, this come from God. This is from divine source. The girl has not made this up. This is the order that should be started on the holy mountain of La Salette. That's what we believe. That's what Our Lady wants. That's what Our Lady wants. We start this order where she wanted to. And so they call on, in Rome, they call the bishop, Monseigneur Fava, the bishop of that time. In 1979, he's called in Rome, and he's said there, you're going to take the little shepherdess who is here in Rome, you take her, you take everything she wrote. We checked everything thoroughly from cardinals of Rome, from the Congregation of the Faith, Congregation of the Index, and everything. They all checked it for a long time, and they decide that everything is according to Catholic faith. So you're going to follow that, and you go with the shepherdess, she knows everything, you take the writing, and you're going to start it there. And there we have the bishop of France who refused. So he disobeyed. frontally, face to face, he disobeyed to the order of Rome. While he's in Rome, he say, never I will follow this rule. First, to follow it, you will have to prove me that it come from the Holy Virgin Mary. So he went back, he disobeyed, he refused. Practically speaking, it's him who has the whole right, to do what he wants in his area. Verbally, he can be. There is no means really to force him to start a religious order or to do this and this if he does not want. You cannot force him manu military, So. And the Pope had, as I already told you, had a lot of problem already in the Pontifical States, where the Freemasonry, Garibaldi and his friends, had already taken all the state of the Church. Church was only now confined to Rome and to the Vatican. So too many problems, and Leo XIII did not see the possibility to fight back or to fight, this bishop and to try and physically impose them to have this new religious order started in La Salette. That's how it all stopped. And then during her life after, Melanie, who says she felt compelled to try and diffuse and spread all this message, as well as try to get this new religious order started. After she try and get some people to try and start this order, this new order. But it never really developed into a new religious order, and until now, incredible thing, we still don't have this new religious order started, which is supposed to be the answer to the devil. Now, having firm grip everywhere in the world, this new missionary order is supposed to be the answer of Notre Dame, but France has not been able to move forward and to implement it. And now we have nothing, and we are stuck. I don't know for you guys all around the world, but in France, Freemasonry is pulling all the string, is doing everything, and we are in deep trouble. And there is no more Catholicism in France. Almost, it's almost dead. I believe this is all chastisement, from not implementing what Our Lady coming, crying in France, is coming to give solutions, like we saw with the Miraculous Medal and so on and so on. But the France turn its back to God and turn its back to Holy Virgin Mary, crying, sent by God. And since then, and that's what Melanie was saying in her life, since then France has been chastised, and France will just go down and down and down and down until it decide one day to turn toward this new religious order which has been given to Catholic world in order to save itself. So that's more or less why I wanted to talk to you about. I could go, of course, in many more detail about the life of Melanie. It's full of things. All these people with the demons and the masonry behind, always trying to trick her, trying to destabilize her, to say fake thing about her, to spread lies about Melanie all the time. It still continues now. You have to know that if you go to La Salette in pilgrimage, at the sanctuary up there of the place of the apparition, there is no way you can get this the true story about. You cannot talk about the secret. You cannot have the version, the approved. I mean, Leo XIII, he got this booklet that got imprimatur, so it got the stamp approval from an Italian bishop. And Leo XIII, a pope, gave it to print in France and to be spread as much as possible. This was given by a pope. So officially, it's never been condemned. But now you have all sorts of, Freemasonry working inside the church, and they kind of make people believe that it was forbidden by the church. There are many books, many things that are around that say to you that she was crazy, and that this text has been forbidden by the church, forbidden by the Index congregation, and so on and so on. It's all completely fake. This is complete nonsense. No, this is complete nonsense. It's lies. Some people are genuine. They think it's been really forbidden, but it's not. We have a lot of information in French on our website debunking all this. It's very clear. Now, I would like to end on the stories with, La Salette is really an incredible apparition. Everything surrounding La Salette is incredible. It's very important, it's not well known, and it's very sad, and it's a pity it's not well known. And I'm gonna finish this story with the incredible childhood of Mélanie Calvat. So actually, at the end of her life, Mélanie, still more or less in hiding in Italy, where she was really so well received by bishops and by popes, 3 popes in a row. The sole fact that she was supported by 3 popes in a row shows that people who try to talk her down are really wrong. A bishop in Grenoble, in France, who was saying about Mélanie that she was crazy and she was proud. He died crazy, playing with a doll and with his feces. See, there is a big list, you can see it on our website. There is a big list of bishops and of priests and of cardinals in France who say so many bad things about Mélanie and all their terrible death. Where they were sudden death, and when they die, they become all black like coal, in 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and they disaggregate. Or as soon as they die, the worms are eating up their flesh and stuff like that. There are many signs from God that he completely disapprove how Mélanie has been wrongly attacked. I'm going to end with the incredible story of the childhood of Mélanie. So 5 years before she died, she came back to France. We can see that it's the grace of God who wanted this to happen. And she happened to live in the countryside of France. And in the countryside of France, she lived in a little village nearby a priest who is the Abbé Combe. And there she lived near a priest Combe, and he became his spiritual director. And he happened to discover so many things in her that nobody knew about. He discovered that she had stigmata. She had the wounds of our Lord Jesus during the Passion, at the hand, both hands, at the feet, the crown, and on the heart. And it was bleeding during Lent and all Fridays during her life since she was 4 years old. He started to discover all these things that she could read into his soul most of the time. She had a very close relation with her own guardian angel. All these incredible things he started to see in Mélanie. In the beginning, he had heard bad thing about her, being in the middle of France. So I'm talking there about she was born in 1831. She died in 1894. In 1904, so she lived with this priest in the countryside in France, in a little village in the center of France, from 1899 till mid-1904. And for the last few months of her life, she went back to Italy and died there. But for 5 years, she was there in the countryside of France. And there, this priest discovered so many incredible things about her that actually she was talking regularly with Our Lady, with our Lord Jesus. She is having such intimate relation with them. He was amazed. He could not believe. In the beginning, he thought she was maybe a little proud, and he found her weird. She had a weird attitude. She always wanted to hide from people, and he thought she was being proud, or why she's like this, being so wild, sometimes coming late at the church service, at the mass. And he discovered that it's because she had stigmatas. And she was bleeding all the way. So that's why she was late at the mass. And he discovered that our Lord Jesus sometime will give her communion. I don't know how you say it, but yeah, he will communie her, and all these kind of things. And so, after discovering so much and understanding many things, because he will try to really get her to talk about things that were so intimate to her, she did not want to say it, to reveal things, but he kind of forced her to say so many things that in the end, he asked her, as a spiritual director, she had so much humility that she always wanted to obey a superior, And since she knew that it was God who wanted her to have this priest come as a superior, somebody above her spiritually, she decided she had no other choice than to obey him. And he directed her to write her childhood before the apparition. So apparition 1846, Melanie born 1831. And now we have this incredible text I'm going to end this talk with. This incredible writing of Melanie, about 120 pages that we republished, where Melanie explained her childhood. And during her childhood, before the apparition, and this you're going to all understand that through this story that I'm going to tell you in short, God has made, has fabricated a big saint for a big apparition, because this matter of apostle of later time is not small business. It's not a small thing. It's huge. And for this big message, this incredibly big and important apparition, God fabricated himself a very special saint, and Melanie is a very special and unknown saint. In this book, we understand that when Melanie was small, I said to you already that her father would go far to work. She will be alone with her mother and the other children, but the mother was very extrovert. She wanted to go to a little happening in the village, a little circus coming around, and all these little festival and thing. The father was not there. And she will try to bring Melanie when she was small. She was 2 years old. She will try to bring her. And Melanie, since she was small, we can understand in this book that she has special graces from God. And actually, she hated to go to any entertainment where her mother always wanted to take her. So she would scream, she would tear off her clothes, her mother's clothes, she would scream during a little theater happening, all these things. And so the mother of Melanie started to really hate her. And she started really to dislike Melanie a lot. And really, she started to, we understand from this book, not to want to feed her, to let her sleep under the bed, and say to the other brother and sister not to call her sister, that she was not the daughter of the house, she was like a foreigner. And actually, Melanie say in this book that when she was very small, her father will take her on his laps and will show her the cross with Jesus on it. And he will explain to her, this is God who became a man to save us. He's our savior. And he was crucified. And Melanie, when she was 6 months, 10 months, 1 year, we understand from the book, she was so young, she was really impressed by this. And she was so focused on that she said that when my father went, after I tried to speak with this God with this Jesus on the cross, but he will not answer me. I will talk to him and he will not answer. So I decided I wanted to be like him. I don't want to talk to anybody. I wanted to do like him and to suffer and to give my life for the redemption of man. I want to be like him. So she started really, since she was very, very small, to want to be like Jesus. She made her own kind of thing inside her, and that's why she became also so wild, so not wanting to be with others, not speaking and all this. And the mother took this very badly as, you are trying to be proud, who you think you are, you want to be like Jesus, who you think you are, and so on and so on and so on. And we understand from what she wrote in this story that, so even the mother will go as far as to chase Melanie away from the house. So she will open the door of the house and say, you go. We don't want you here in this house. You want to talk to nobody. You don't want to behave with us. You don't want to talk. You want to socialize. You want to be like your Jesus. Then go and be like Jesus and suffer. And she will open the door of the house. Melanie was, we understand from what's written there, 2 years old, so small. And she will go off. Just to remind you, we are in a village, 3,000 feet. This much snow in winter. And she will go by herself. And she describes that she will go not far away from the house. There was a little wood. And I will go in the wood. And she described, I was so sad, I was crying. I felt I had no more mother, no more father, no more family. I was on my own. And she described, I saw a dead crow on the ground and it was rotten and I wanted to suffer. So I put my face just next to it to smell the bad, rotten smell in order to suffer like my Jesus. She was 2 years old when she was doing this kind of thing. This is by special grace. That's my understanding. And she described that when she was so lost in this wood by herself, so sad, feeling that all the world had abandoned her, she described, she said, and one day a little child who was my height, a little boy, came to play with me. And he came and we would talk together. First he talked to me and I said, don't talk so loud. I don't want you to talk loud. I don't like noise. She was really not used to just even interacting, just speaking to people or hearing people. She did not like it. She was all her world was inside her. And this little boy come to play with her sometime. And he say, oh, he was nice. And we will play to push each other. We will play hide and seek. We will go against trees and measure ourselves and see which one was taller. And we were always of the same height. And he had a nice pink dress and I had a blue one. And they were doing like this children game in the wood. And it would be nice with him. I would be able to. We will talk about God. We will talk about God, the world of God, and we understand that actually so regularly the mother will chase away Melanie from home, and often when she will go to this wood, every now and then this boy will come to meet her and play with her, and they will talk about what we learn in catechism. All these. Most of the mysteries of our Catholic religion, purgatory and the Holy Virgin Mary and the saints and many things like that. She will learn I say in French like an infused way. It was kind of from soul to soul kind of thing. She will learn so many things like this when she would be with this boy. And this boy, she will call her my little brother. And he will call her sister of my heart. And so she will go on like this. And even until the time of the apparition, of 1846, having always, I told you she was going to work to master's house and stuff. So every now and then, and she tells stories in this book about that. Every now and then, often when she will be the saddest moment, the most difficult time of her life, this boy will come and kind of enlight a little bit her life and play with her and talk about God, and she would love him, and he will love her. And she discovered when she was 21 years old, so remember 15 at the time of the apparition, 6 years after the apparition, she discovered that this little boy who was coming to see her every now and then was actually Jesus. This is incredible, you know. So it's God who was coming to visit this little girl who was the poorest of the poorest, who was so mistreated, badly treated, who had nothing left, who was going to work, the worst work everywhere. Sometimes some masters she worked with, she say in there that they were treating her so badly. You know, and she would have this little light recreational time with God himself, who will come, you know. And at that time, you know, she had no prayer life. She will not go to mass. She was not taught catechism. But we understand from this book and from what the Abbé Combe, the priest Combe, wrote about her. He wrote a book about her. We understand that she had such a incredible mystical life, you know, this Mélanie Calvat. It's an incredible, all her life is completely incredible in terms of such a close, intimate relation she had with Jesus and with the Holy Virgin Mary. The day, I'm going to end with that, the day she realized that he was Jesus, that her little brother was Jesus. She was 21 years old, as I told you, and it was after the apparition, so the bishop at the time of the apparition was very nice, and he put Maximin and Mélanie. He put both of them with the nuns to school them, so in order for them to get catechism and to get schooled after the apparition. So it was really nice. First it was in Cors, in their village, and then after in Grenoble, in the big town where the bishop is actually based. And there at a convent, both were having school and studies. And Mélanie tell that when she was 21 or 22, one day, 1852 or 53, one day she was in a room by herself, and she say, and as it often happened, my brother appeared, and we were together, and we started to pray together like we do sometimes. And so we were praying together. And while we were praying, from the side of my eyes, I could see he was not praying, he was looking at me. And I turned to him and I say, my brother, instead of looking at me, you should be praying. And then she said, and then when I told him this, he looked at me and he said, if you saw me in my glory. And then, as she said, she described, and suddenly he became big and full of light, so bright. He became so bright and so bright. And I was melting, and I did not know where to, how to be anymore. I was completely melted by his glory. And there she realized who was the little brother that she knew from when she was so small. And she said after it became normal again, like before, and I told him, my brother, I don't know how to call you anymore. And he said, don't worry, sister of my work, of my heart, keep on calling me your brother. So that's the end of the story I wanted to tell you today. There are so many more things to know about La Salette. I just went briefly. I tried to be as brief as possible, but you know, there's There are so many things to know about La Salette and about Melanie, about her life, that I could not say everything today. Even I was quite long. I apologize for that. And I hope you can discover more about all that. I want to take the opportunity today to tell you that our association is mainly an association made to find all the writings of Melanie Calva and about La Salette, and to publish or republish them, because I've discovered after my conversion that most of them are disappearing and nobody cares about it, and some very important writing are just disappearing and nobody wants to republish them, you know. So I've decided that I've talked to it about some editors and stuff like that. They seem to not really care. So I said, okay, I have to do it myself with the grace of God. I'll be able to. Why not? There is no way I'm not going to do it. So I've decided we are a group of 3-4 volunteer people, you know, and we try to do what we can in free time, and spending a lot of time republishing things. We have already so the writing of Melanie describing. All the apparition with her secret and the public message. We have it already in Italian, we have it in Polish, we have it in English, we have it in French, and we have a little praying thing also in French. And there is the book of the Abbé Combe I talked to you about, a very important book about Melanie and how we discovered that she has stigmatas and all these things. This one we are about to republish it in 1 month, and there are the letters of Melanie, many letters that we have from her that we are publishing as well. All this is in French. There is one appeal, there is a book on Maximin, this is from other publisher, and we distribute it as well. All this material is in French. And I would like to do an appeal today to all of you guys all around the world, English speakers, and we would like to have somebody who could translate into English this very important book. It's not that big, about 100 pages. Of the childhood of Melanie that she wrote herself. It's all her own writing. About what I talked to you about at last, the beginning from her birth until before the apparition. All the time, it's so supernatural things, you know. It's all with her guardian angels, and with all the life with Jesus, and how she discovered he took her to paradise, and she talked about Saint Joseph, and she talked about purgatory and all these things, you know. It's so interesting, it's so nice, and we would like to find somebody who would like, as us, benevolent, you know, not being paid or nothing. We're just doing it for the glory of God and for the love we have for the Holy Virgin Mary, Our Lady, you know, who is doing so much for us. So if somebody could help us and in order to translate this book from French into English, we need an English speaker. Because it's so poetic, you know, and it's so supernatural things that we need somebody who can really find the right word in English to help us translate this. We are a non-profit organization. We don't make any money out of all this. So if there is any of you, please go on our website. You will see in description our web address link. Please go on it, and at where there is contact, you can go on contact and write an email to us, and I will personally read it. And if you want to translate this book for us, you are most welcome. We give conference everywhere. If you are in Europe and you want us to go anywhere in Europe to give a talk for free, we are ready to go anywhere by the grace of God to give talks of 1 hour, 2 hours, whatever, on Melanie, on La Salette. You can call us anywhere, we'll come. Please go on our site. Last thing I want to you guys to know is if you go on a pilgrimage in La Salette in France. So I explained you that on top there is the sanctuary on top of the hill where you will not have the real message, but you will have the place of the apparition. It's very important to go there. And down 15 kilometers by the road, 15 kilometers before, there is only one road leading to it. And at the bottom of this road, the starting of this road to go up, is the village of Corps, C-O-R-P-S, where the children were originated for. And there you have the house of Melanie Calva, the house I talked to you about, which they were renting, and the house from where she was chased by her mother, you know, when she was small, and she was living with, seeing our Lord every now and then. This house has been bought by a Catholic association, and it's open except for the month of December, January, February. It's open all through the year. It's 24-hour open to the public. It's like a museum inside. It's been made like in the days of Melanie, mid-19th century. And on the table, there are all these publications I showed you. And it's a friendly association, as we are the friends of Melanie Calva, and them they are called the House of Melanie. And please go there, because you will find all this publication, and you will find the true message which they don't distribute up there at the sanctuary. And in a way, you know, just to see the house where Melanie was living at that time, such a saint she is, this house in itself is like a relic, you know. And sometimes you have a benevolent, you know, people who are there from the association, and who are there to explain, to give speech, to give talk about the life of Melanie, or to talk about what happened really in the apparition and the Apostle of Latter Time and stuff like this. You have some volunteer who are sometime there, not always, but anyway, the house is open, so please go there. Don't forget, when you are on the spot, you can go at different. You can go to the cemetery of Corps, where there is the grave of Maximin, and you can go at the Chapelle Saint-Roch, where Melanie saw Jesus several times. You can, and there are other places that are described in this book that you can find around. That is very nice to visit. They won't talk about it at the sanctuary itself. So please, one of you, help us and translate this book so that everyone in the world will have much more information about Melanie, big saints of Our Lady. Thank you very much for your attention. Visit our site. And don't hesitate to ask her more questions if you have some. Bye-bye. Bye from now.